So, we were yesterday talking about the great many benefits of training in the Bodhichitta, the mind wishing to benefit all sentient beings. As His Holiness and all the great teachers say, that all the sufferings, problems, difficulties that we see in the world are due to self-cherishing attitude. And all the good things, happiness, peace, harmony, virtue, all these are a result of the mind that cherishes the well-being of other sentient beings. And His Holiness gives concrete examples by saying that even in the case of the dogs, if there is a dog which is much more peaceful, then the other dogs also lie around their dog in a peaceful manner. If the dog is barking to every other dog, then the other dogs also pick up the similar habit. So that we can see. So harmony, as I said earlier, is a key factor in the flourishing, sustenance of animate beings as well as inanimate beings. This is a law of nature, So there are certain things that you need to take care because it is good for your health, good for your peace of mind, good for your harmony. So therefore, Bodhichitta is one of the most important things that we can ever think about and we can ever dream. Out of the more than 7 billions of people in this world, only few lucky people like us are able to hear this word Bodhichitta. Believe me. The majority of the people don't hear this word, forget about understanding the meaning, forget about trying to practice it. And they die like that. Even in today's world, people talk so much about globalization, which is said to be a sign of progress. But globalization is primarily talking about human beings, not about all sentient beings. And even within human beings, globalization is talking primarily about business. Whereas when we talk about practicing bodhicitta, we are not talking about doing business. We are talking about selflessly benefiting others. So you can appreciate that fact. So therefore it's always important to remember that one thing that I must do in my life is try to benefit others as much as I can. Of course, we cannot be perfect, but as much as I can. So that really is the meaning of existence, meaning of life. So that we have to remember. And if you do that, natural outcome will be that you will not only get the benefit, of course you are not doing that for getting benefit as a reciprocal activity, but it's a natural thing that you will get the reciprocal action, and also you will get that benefit and satisfaction. It's human nature. But sometimes when you do something for some other people and they get benefit, and you don't get anything in terms of material, achievement and so forth, but you get satisfaction, okay, I've done something, without expecting anything in return. And that genuine satisfaction is called happiness. We are talking about happiness, not about pleasure. Pleasure are related to the senses. That you see something, you get pleased. You touch something, you get pleased. And these pleasures are very ephemeral. They are not reliable. But we are talking about happiness. Happiness is basically a deep mental satisfaction. And deep mental satisfaction comes by leading a life which is free from duplicity, saying one thing or doing other thing, showing one thing and hiding something else. If you do that, other people may know it or may not know it. But you know it, your conscience knows it. So therefore you know, okay, I did this, but I know who I am, So there is a crack. There is a crack inside. When you have that crack and hesitation inside, you don't get deep down satisfaction. When you get that deep down satisfaction, your sleep will be smooth, without nightmare. When you talk to other people also, you talk openly and fearlessly. Your expression says that, your word says that. But if you're hiding something, saying something, You may try to be very manipulative and very clever, but still other people can read you. And even if they don't read, you know who you are. So there's no stability. And when you don't have that deep down stability and satisfaction, you don't get that deep peace and deep happiness. So it's important to be as much as possible, as I'm saying. We cannot be perfect. We are not perfect, of course, but try our level best to help others with the realization that others are here in this world for a short time. They're all looking for some kind of peace, some kind of happiness. Some are looking for job, some are looking for friendship. I mean, everybody is in need of everything. So with that realization, even if you are unable to help, at least, as His Holiness says, at least you should not obstruct their success, their peace, their happiness. That's important. If you do that, you're on the right track. So that's important. Next, we are talking about some of the branch practices. And the first is called transforming misfortune into the path. Transforming misfortune into the path in general, and especially in today's world, transforming misfortunes into the path is extremely important. Because the environment and the sentient beings within the environment, within this world, are full of negativities, full of shortcomings. Environment is polluted, as we know. If you go to big cities, it's even difficult to breathe properly. And then people living in the big cities, I don't know what they're doing. Many, especially in the case of many people, they're always like looking for an opportunity to cheat other people, to corrupt, engage in corruption, to exploit other people. So the external environment, the world, and the sentient beings within the world are filled with negativities. So because of that situation, because of that condition, because of that atmosphere, you are bound to encounter those disturbances, those disruptions, those misfortunes. So on such occasions, it's important that you are able to transform that misfortune into positive practices, into the path. Okay. For example, if you look at the environment, the nutrients in the land is decreasing. The crops and fruits don't have much nutrients. It's decreasing. Okay. And then especially the food that we get is not natural food. Most of it is artificially flavored, manufactured with machine, with technology. So some of it looks good, but it's not really natural. Because of that, as a side product, we get so many different kind of diseases which we have never heard before. And in terms of thinking also, people are undergoing stress, loneliness, low self-esteem, and whatnot. So you are bound to encounter this and that problems here and there. You are bound to encounter some kind of misfortunes here and there. So it's important how to transform these misfortunes into the path. It's very important. So the process of transforming misfortunes into the path is one with a very special mental attitude. That means bodhicitta. With the help of bodhicitta, you can transform misfortune into the path. So in the case of using bodhicitta as a means to transform misfortune into the path, it says, whatever you encounter, whatever you meet in your life, in your path, you should immediately use it for making your mind habituated with bodhicitta, positive practices. In all situations, whether you're happy, not happy. If you have read this text by Kundulama Rinpoche, he says, if you're unhappy, meditate on bodhicitta. If you're happy, meditate on bodhicitta. If you're walking, meditate on bodhicitta. If you're sleeping, meditate on bodhicitta. If you are eating, meditate on bodhicitta. If you are dying, meditate on bodhicitta. This is a whole book he has written. Because if you have one practice, there's wishing to benefit all other sentient beings, then you can transform all your ways of life into bodhicitta, the wish to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. You can easily do, because if you observe the way people are living, if you observe the way people are thinking, not only ordinary people, even the so-called very intelligent people, even the so-called teachers and so forth, if you observe carefully, you can see that, okay, there's a clear indication that they are also in the samsara. So with that, you feel concerned, you feel sense of responsibility for that. And therefore you can then think that the only way to solve this problem is to become a Buddha. Okay? So as I said earlier, you will face so many ups and downs in life. Sometimes you are very prosperous, rich, having a lot of friends, wealthy, having a great name. On those occasions also it's important to remember these essential practices so you do not get arrogant and blind. If you read the history of Mao Zedong, in the beginning he also had a kind of good motivation to fight for the cause of the peasants. When he became the boss, he got crazy. He was drunk with power. So, power corrupts the person. So it's possible. So therefore, even if you are successful, okay, you say, okay, successful, but I am still in the samsara. But still I have to die. You have a lot of money, okay, it's good, but still I have to die. So with this kind of thinking, even if you are successful, you will still remember these practices. You will still use those great opportunities to help other people and never become proud and arrogant, which is a big obstacle for practice. And sometimes you experience failure after failure. You go for an examination, you fail. You go for a job, you fail. You go for a business, you fail. You're looking for friendship, you fail, But still never give up, because that is not the end of the story. In fact, as I said, from failure, from suffering, you learn how to achieve success. Because sufferings, as I said earlier, is like challenges. When you encounter challenges, there is an opportunity for you to grow. You can become better. Okay? The next process of transforming misfortune into the path and collecting merit and purifying your negative emotions, your negative activities. We are not able to achieve great many things because our store of merit is small. Because our negative emotions are very heavy and very strong. So therefore it is important to continuously collect merit. And one of the best ways of collecting merit is helping others. Of course, remembering Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, doing your spiritual practice, and so many things are there. But one of the best, the purpose of all this, taking refuge to Buddha, reading holy scriptures, going to visit the temple, all this at the end of the day is targeted towards benefiting others. So if you make it a point to be calm and peaceful and help others, that's the best way of collecting merit. Collecting merit, as I said earlier, if you do the right thing, then you will be able to develop this purity of mind, calmness of mind, deep satisfaction. When you have that calmness of mind, deep satisfaction, that is actually called practice of morality, practice of ethical discipline. And when you have that practice of morality and ethical discipline, morality basically means not harming others, helping others, cultivating positive qualities. These are called moral practice, ethical practice. If you do that, then your mind is free from regret, because you have done the right thing. When your mind is free from regret, your mind is cool. When your mind is cool, then you can develop one-pointed meditation, wisdom, and so forth. It's just like a land that is nicely prepared. Now you can plant any seed. So first, in order to cultivate all these higher qualities, your mind must be calm and cool. In fact, for morality, the Sanskrit word is shil. Shil comes from the word shitalta. Shitalta, shil means cool. When your mind is cool, then you can do all other higher practices. So therefore, practice of morality is said to be compared to a ground where you plant and grow so many things. And then at the same time, while collecting merit, it's important not to collect additional negative activities. Reduce your anger, reduce your jealousy, reduce your, all kinds of afflictive emotions. And then your mind will become clear and clear and clear. And then your wish to do more practice will, and your enthusiasm to do more practice will also grow. And then there will be no problem in doing any kind of spiritual practices. Because if you keep on doing so many negative things, then your mind becomes polluted. When the environment is polluted, your mind becomes polluted, then you feel your mind becomes heavy and you're unable to study, you're unable to think. A clear indication is if you try to do some meditation, some prayer, immediately you will start dozing. Have you noticed that? If you do some other activity, you become very smart, very alert, like sports or playing or so many things, or ordinary activities. You go there with full enthusiasm. There's no laziness. But as soon as you sit down and read the scripture, the first thing that will happen is you will doze off. You will feel sleepy. And that is an indication that your mind is polluted. So you need to, especially in the beginning, make some effort. And the third process of transforming misfortune into the path is when you engage in such practices, there may be some obstructive evil forces harming you. So when such things happen, you should again remember the fact that they are today harming me because I might have harmed them in my past lives. So therefore, do some prayer and give them some food, torma, we call it torma, or some other food. And remember their kindness. Because they also, in this life also, they are giving you an opportunity to practice patience. And then also, although your motivation to do the spiritual practice is good, but sometimes you need certain support. So therefore you also make necessary offerings to the Dharma protectors. That's also very important. The right Dharma protectors means the really qualified Dharma protectors, not any spirit that has the name called Dharma protector. So it is here that His Holiness is talking so much about, not to propitiate the Shungden. And I am sure you are all aware, His Holiness said about this so many times. Okay? Because the practice of Shungden is bad in the sense, the history says it is bad, because it brought so many disharmony among religious practitioners. We don't have to elaborate on this point. That is a fact happened for more than 300 years. And then of the recent history also you can see, including killing people. It has happened everywhere. Now you can see they are demonstrating against His Holiness. They are doing anything that the Chinese government is saying. So clearly showing there is nothing to do with any kind of spirit. These people who are saying that they are practicing something, it's not so much about their practice, it is about their money. As simple as that. If it is a Buddhist practitioner, at least they should wholeheartedly, sincerely do the Buddha Dharma practice, which they are not doing. If they are nationalistic or for the Tibetan people, at least they should say things against the Chinese government. They are doing against His Holiness Dalai Lama. His Holiness the Dalai Lama symbolizes the heart of the Tibetan people's struggle. Be it Buddhism, be it Tibetan cause, be it Tibetan culture, be it for peace. His Holiness is the real symbol. That very symbol they are targeting now. You can see I don't have to elaborate on this. So therefore it's important. Many of us, of course, will be confused because when we say this is spirit is good, this is spirit not good, who will know that? Some high lamas like His Holiness might know, we may not be able to know. But don't worry about that. We can know few things. Just by, I tell some young people that just you use your common sense. Whether it's a spirit or a lama or a lay person, if they are bringing lot of disharmony and infighting, then bad, whoever they are. So that's exactly happening. So it's bad for the Tibetan people. It's bad for the Buddha Dharma because it creates misunderstanding, infighting. And then moreover, one reason, out of the many reasons, one of the reasons His Holiness is saying is that the Buddhist teaching says you should personally take the responsibility in achieving Buddhahood or whatever. But this one says you propitiate this spirit, and the spirit will do everything for you. You will become rich and things like that. So this is simply like fooling the people, you see, totally against the Buddhist teaching. So therefore, the stand that His Holiness took, the advice that His Holiness gave, nobody can give that advice. His Holiness is strong, he's a good practitioner, people believe in it. So he is able to give that kind of guidance, which is so important for the younger generation. Because younger generation, we are saying that we don't want to follow things with a blind faith. So you want to have a scientific mind. And if you want to that, then you can find these things for yourself. At least on those levels where you can use your common sense. So as I was saying, when we use our common sense, we can find out that any human being, any spirit, any Lama who is bringing a lot of disharmony and who disrupts the peace of the people is obviously bad. And then, most important for the younger generation is, it's not important for you to worry too much about different spirits. The most important thing is you should understand the teaching, the basic teaching like kindness, compassion, bodhichitta, using wisdom and understanding the law of nature. You should focus on these things. Do not pay too much focus on, this is spirit, that spirit. If I pray to this spirit, I will be successful in my examination. This is not a very good habit. So the most important thing is that you do your regular practice and regular study, whatever, properly. Then if there is a good spirit and things like that, they will help you. You don't have to go to them because they have taken a promise to help you in the past. They made a promise saying that whoever is doing good will be there to help them. It's not that you give bribe and then they help you. If you don't give the bribe, they don't help you. It's not like that. Okay? So it's important not to get straight. So even when you seek the help of Dharma protectors, it means the real Dharma protectors. The real Dharma protectors, how can we find out? Real Dharma protectors are those protectors which people have relied upon for centuries and which are not controversial. Okay? Like even among human beings, if a person is controversial, then be careful. But you don't have to say it's good or bad, but at least you distance yourself and be careful. So that's what I'm saying. Then the next very interesting question is, how can we, in short, undertake this practice that we have discussed so far in one lifetime? So the root text says, so we are now talking about the measure of having trained the mind. Did Oh, no. Yeah, sorry, the fourth one. The integrated practice of a single lifetime. Yeah, in brief, the essence of the instruction is to train in the 5 powers. Train in the 5 powers. So this is talking about how to do the practice in one lifetime. So the 5 powers are, first is the power of motivation. That you should make a motivation saying that I will do this practice from today until tomorrow morning at least. Or from today until to the next month. Or from today until I die. So you make a motivation and then do that practice. So that motivation is very important. And the second motivation is called the positive seed, the motivation of the positive seed. The positive seed means to try to develop the bodhicitta which you have not developed, and the bodhicitta that you have developed may it grow further. Oh, that is called the power of the virtue seed. So you need to do this prayer, reflect on this repeatedly. So that will leave a seed. And the third power is called the power of repudiation. That means, as we have explained earlier, it is because of this self-grasping which sees all phenomena as having independent existence, and induced by this self-grasping, we develop this self-cherishing attitude where you think for the benefit of yourself alone and not for others, and you completely neglect others. So now you should, having seen the destructiveness, the negativeness of these negative emotions, including self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, you should now try to abandon them, try to kick them out. So that's the third power. And the fourth power is called power of prayer. That means whatever virtues that you have done within for the samsara or beyond the samsara, and particularly all the virtuous practices that you have done physically, verbally, and mentally, may this become a cause to cultivate bodhicitta in the mind of other sentient beings and in my own mind. May the bodhicitta, prosper and develop. So in this way, you should pray all the time, because praying is important. It's like the rein that you use to take the horse in different directions. Okay, so prayer is also important. Prayer means wishing. So if you continually wish something, you will gradually walk in accordance with the wish, and then you will be able to reach your destination. If you have no wish, then you will never make an attempt. The fifth is called power of habituation. As we have already explained earlier with the different process of visualization, that in all situations you should continuously meditate on bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion. Make your mind habituated with it. If you get your mind habituated with it, then it will come automatically. While you are awake, and also when you are dreaming, when you are sleeping, it will come automatically. So it's very important to get habituated with it. Then the next process is the five powers themselves are the great vehicles precept on the transference of consciousness. Cultivate the path of practice. So that means, just as you have undertaken these five practices while you are alive, similarly when you are dying, you again do these five practices. The five powers. That's what this text is saying. So in this case, when you are dying, then the first power is called power of the virtuous seed. That means as much as possible try to purify all the negative deeds that you have done, so that you don't have to regret at the time of the death. When you are about to die, then you should offer the wealth and other things that you have, so that your mind will not hanker after those possessions when you are dead. So without having attachment to object or people at all, you should be ready to go. I have actually seen some great teachers who did that. At least I know few teachers who did that exactly like that. But we don't have time to talk about all this. Second is the power of motivation. As we have explained earlier, you should again cultivate a good motivation at the time of the death also. Third is, again remember the faults of afflictive emotions and make a determination that from henceforth I will never allow myself overpowered by these negative emotions. Fourth is power of prayer. Then when you are dying, you should pray that may all lives to come, may I never be separated by this precious mind of bodhicitta. And may I never be controlled by the afflictive emotions in general, and particularly self-cherishing and self-grasping. Then fifth is power of habituation. So then in terms of your physical posture, you try to sleep on the right side of your body with your hand on the right, lying below the right cheek. the head should be towards the north, and this probably this finger should block this nostril of the right nostril, and the left hand should be on your thigh, on the left thigh, and then this is blocked, okay. Then this left nostril is open, and from there, then you do the breathing in, and breathing out, inhaling and exhaling, and in this way, then you try to transfer your consciousness to the next life. So that's why normally, even not only at the time of the death, but normally also it is suggested that when you sleep, you should sleep on the right side of your body, not up or not facing down or not left. You can if you do an experiment with that, you can see the difference. Because of course, if you lie down face down, you will have even difficulty breathing. Of course, we know we can't sleep. But when you sleep like this, it feels a little bit comfortable, little bit. But still, you will get some kind of back pain and things like that. And the flow of energy is not very clear. But if you sleep on the right side, you can see the breathing is much better. You can test it. And if you sleep on the left side, the breathing is a little bit more difficult. And I have noticed this, although I am not able to sleep all the time on the right side, but I have seen the difference between the two. So that is what is suggested. So Chekhawa says that although there are many teachings called the great teachings of transference of consciousness, there are many, like lot of bragging about such practices, but he says if you do this practice, this is the greatest process of transference of consciousness. So it doesn't have to be very complicated. And the next is the measure of you having trained your mind to the practice of bodhicitta. If you are able to integrate all the teachings into one thought, the next line, point number 5, the measure of having trained the mind. The measure of having trained the mind is if you are able to integrate all the teachings into one thought. That means all the teachings are primarily aimed towards cultivating bodhicitta and removing self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude. We have discussed about this a long time. That's the main thing. There are more than 108 volumes of the Buddha's teaching, but all of these teachings, sutric teachings, tantric teachings, their main purpose is to destroy this enemy called self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, and to cultivate these positive qualities called bodhicitta and wisdom, understanding, emptiness. So there is the thought. Everything will boil down to on this. And the next, the text says, primary importance should be given to the two witnesses. That means when it comes to seeing whether your practice is becoming correct or not, for that there are two witnesses. One, the witness of other people who will say, oh, Geshe Lhakdor is doing good practice, not practice. They are watching, they are also a witness. There's one witness. But the text says, that's not the most important witness. The most important witness should be yourself, because there are many things you are doing other people don't know. You may look nice here, but you may be doing something behind. You may look nice, but your mind may be calculating something negative and bad. So out of the two witnesses, your being a witness, proper witness to yourself is the most important. So that's the meaning. Importance. Primary importance should be given to the, this is a little bit wrong translation. Primary importance should be given out of the, actually the translation should be like this. Out of the two witnesses, you should rely more on the one which is the primary, which is the main. Out of the two witnesses, you should rely more on the one which is the chief, which is the most important. So that is your own judgment. Next it says, constantly cultivate only a peaceful mind. That means if you are somebody who is really sincerely and honestly doing this practice, then whatever comes in your life, ups and downs, as I said, still you will be relaxed and peaceful and happy. If there is a continuous peacefulness of mind and happiness of the mind, then this is a sign that you have really trained your mind. Therefore, many of the Mahayana teachings, they say that your mind should not be like a feather of the bird. With a small blow of the wind, if it is tossed all around, then your mind is not well trained. When your mind is not well trained, even if the whole world is collapsing or a big earthquake or whatever, misfortune, whatever is coming, okay, this is something that has to come, that has to happen, So your calmness of mind will not be lost in the face of tragedy. That's important. Like medicine, for example. Medicine is needed when you are sick, not when you are healthy. So similarly, calmness of the mind, fortitude of the mind, fearless of the mind, these are needed when you are suffering, when you encounter a problem. When you have when you have no problem, why do you need this? When you go to war, enter the conflict zone, then you need to show your bravery, not when you are in the home. So similarly, through training, if you are able to continuously maintain that peace of mind, whether it's good things are happening or bad things are happening, then it's a good indication. The measure of a trained mind is that it has turned away. So that means it has turned away from your obsession and engagement in negative emotions. If it turns away from that and engages into the practice of bodhicitta and so forth, then this is another very important measure. There are 5 great marks of a trained mind. There are 5 great marks of a trained mind. To see whether your mind is trained or not, there are 5 great signs. The sign number 1 is that you are able to see bodhicitta as the essence of all the sutras, and in all times you will make your mind habituated with that, and in this way you have this great mind. That's number 1 sign. Number 2, you are able to develop this infallibility of the cause-effect relationship, and therefore you will be very careful in not committing smallest negative deeds. So in this way you are a kind of great Vinaya practitioner, great practitioner of the morality and ethics. Second sign. Third is, when you combat with these negative emotions, you need to go certain hardships. You need to do some prayer, you need to do some meditation, you need to, read scriptures and things like that. You need to work a little bit. So on those occasions, if you don't get defeated and tired easily, and you are able to bear those hardships, then you are a great person in the sense of being able to undergo hardship. That is the third sign. The fourth is that your physical and verbal activities do not contradict the teachings, the Mahayana teachings. So therefore you are a great trainer. That's the fourth sign. The fifth sign is that you will continually able to do your yogic practice of cultivating bodhicitta and all other facilitating factors. So in that way you are kind of great yogi. So that's the fifth sign. Okay. Then the next line says, the trained mind retains control even when distracted. Just like when you ride bicycle. And I have that experience. When I was trying to ride bicycle, when you're not trained, when something comes in your thought, you immediately fail. But gradually when you're trained, you ride on the bicycle, you're talking and looking here, you can go without any problem. So similarly, even if you look like distracted, but your mind is in the practice of bodhicitta, then this is a great sign of your having properly trained in the mind of bodhicitta. Then there are certain pledges that you need to practice as a person training in the mind of bodhicitta. So therefore, the sixth point, the commitments of mind training. Don't go against the mind training you promise to observe. Did you way? So this Tibetan root text, it says that you should train in the three general meanings. So the three general meaning means the first is don't go against the mind training you promise to observe. It's very clear. I am not going to spend a long time here. It's very clear. The second is don't be reckless in your practice. Don't be reckless in your practice means some people they say, oh, I am a very special person. I am doing mind training practice. So if I cut this tree, there is no problem. If I pollute this water, there is no problem. So urinate everywhere, execrate everywhere, So that's called recklessness. It should not be like that, okay? And then the next one says, don't be partial. Don't be partial. So don't be partial means that you do this mind training practice very properly when it comes to your friends and relatives. But you don't do this when it comes to your enemy. So that's partial. Okay? When you do this practice when your mood is good, your mind is good, and you don't do that when your mood is not good, mind is not good, your facilities are not good, then it's wrong. Then it's wrong. That's wrong. Next, transform your attitude but maintain your natural behavior. So that means, in the name of undertaking mind training practice, don't pretend that you're a different person. Okay, you change your clothes. So these days I'm doing mind training practice. You change your clothes. You also change your style of walking. Some people do that. I've seen so many people this. Like those people who engage in the Tibetan Buddhist practice, they wear Tibetan type of robes, they change the furniture, try to get Tibetan furniture. If you do Japanese practice, you try to do the things in accordance with Zen tradition, So they change their external look, but inside they don't change. So you should not do this. Change your attitude, remain as you are. That's the next point. Don't speak of others' incomplete qualities. That basically means so don't speak of others' incomplete quality means if you see a person who has lost one of his arms, who has lost one of his eyes, then if you specially highlight that shortcoming and say, you blind, you legless, if you specially highlight the miseries, the missing parts of other people, that is specially sinful. Because that person is already having problem, having no eye, and you are reminding that person and bullying that person. So don't do that. Don't speak of others' incomplete qualities. Don't concern yourself with others' business. This one I don't know. So this basically means, if you, for example, you're encountering a very difficult situation, and in that situation, if you say that I just managed, it was a very difficult situation, but I just managed because I was doing mind training practice. If it was you, then you could have that problem, that tragedy, and so forth. So in this way, if you bring others' affair into yourself and show yourself as a higher, there's the meaning of don't concern yourself with others' business, comparing yourself with others and praising yourself. train to counter whichever disturbing emotion is greatest, as I explained to you earlier already. If your anger is greater, work with that. Give up every hope of reward. Give up every hope of reward means if you expect that because you do mind training practice, therefore you will become richer, that's wrong. Even if you expect liberation just for yourself, that is wrong. So try to aspire to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, not just for oneself. So don't expect such reward for yourself. Avoid poisonous food. In general, we need food, but if we take food which is poisoned, then that will take our life. So similarly, in general, hearing, thinking, and meditation on Bodhichitta and so forth is good, but if they are mixed with worldly concerns, the 8 worldly concerns, that means for your fame, for your name, for your wealth, for your money and so forth, then that is like mixing your dharma practice with poison. So your practice should be pure and not mixed with the 8 worldly concerns. Don't maintain misplaced loyalty. Loyalty is important in general. Don't maintain misplaced loyalty. Basically, it is saying that in general, it is good if you are kind-hearted. Okay, nice. But when you see other people doing many bad things, like for example your children, pretending that you are a good person, and let your children engage in all kind of negative deeds. Even when you see your children are killing and things like, still you say, no, okay, no problem. That's wrong. So that's the meaning of misplaced loyalty. Don't make sarcastic remarks. That means don't use harsh speech that would hurt others. For example, sometimes when we fight, we say, last time also you said this to me, I tolerate it. The next day also you said this, I tolerate it. Now it's impossible for me to tolerate, saying things like that. So that is not good. And harsh speech is very bad. Harsh speech is not sharp like the blade, but it can chop other people's heart into pieces. Okay? Don't ambush. It's a very good word. Don't ambush. That means don't lie in ambush. That means, in order to bully others, in order to harm others, you lie in wait, look for an opportunity, and see whether that person is committing a mistake or not. As soon as you see the committing, you're going to say, you've done this now. Now I'm going to bring this to the knowledge of the minister or whatever, So this is many politicians, they do that. They look for an opportunity. And as soon as you find some other people doing something, then immediately you seize that opportunity and bully that person. So don't do that. Don't strike at the vital point. Don't strike at the vital point. That means with a bad motivation, if you keep on highlighting the faults of others, that is striking the vital point of other people. Don't place the load of a horse on a pony. That means if there is a job, work that it's very difficult for that person to do, then if you force that person to do that, that is the loading the load of a horse on a pony. We do that, especially those people who have power. If it is a work which is difficult, you can do, but you don't do, but you give it to somebody who doesn't have the capacity to do it. It's a big problem for that person. So don't do that. You should always see whether that person can really able to do that or not. Or at least help him do that. It's not that, okay, do that, finish in time. No. Because that person will have a lot of problems because his knowledge is not enough, his capacity is not enough, his intelligence is not enough. So don't do that. Next is, don't abuse the practice. Anyway, that is not there. Don't abuse the practice, don't misuse the practice, okay? Don't sprint to win the race. Don't sprint to win the race means if two of us have done something together and then there is a prize forthcoming, then who has done that? If somebody asks you this question, then you immediately raise your hand. I did this. When there is something to eat, when there is something to get, as a name or fame or money, whatever, then you sprint. You rush. I have done this. Many people who do this, when there is a work, they remain behind. When there is something to eat, they are in the forefront of the line. So don't do that. So there are many stories of great Kadamba practitioners who would have worked very hard and did something, but when it is asked who did this, then they just hide, Oh, he did this, I didn't do anything. So let others enjoy like that. But I know you will have a lot of questions with these things in ordinary world. Don't turn gods into devils. That means this practices are to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. But if you misuse it, then it's like turning the gods into the devils. Don't seek others' misery as a means to your happiness. It's very clear, I don't need to explain this. You see? There are people who enjoy others' miseries. It's happening all over. They don't care about others. They let others suffering, and then they, at the cost of others suffering, they enjoy, which is of course very bad. The next point is the precepts of mind training. Every yoga should be performed as one. That means whether you are eating or sleeping or going, in all these occasions you remember the practice of Bodhichitta. All errors are to be amended by one means. Again, practice of Bodhichitta, as I said earlier. There are two activities at both beginning and end. So when you do this, many of these good practices, in the beginning the motivation should be good. In the conclusion, the dedication should be good. Okay? Whichever occurs, be patient with both. That means whatever hardships that you have to encounter physically and mentally, as we have explained earlier, try to transform that misfortune into the path and make sure that this becomes a help to achieve enlightenment. Whichever occurs, be patient with both means whether you get physical hardship or mental hardship, tolerate it. Guard both at the cost of your life. That means having trained in the mind of Bodhichitta, there are certain precepts, there are certain vows that you need to observe. So you should observe those kind of pledges. There are natural vows that you need to observe and certain vows that you need to observe as a result of your commitment. So guard both the natural commitment and commitment as a result of your training. So both should be guarded at the cost of your life. Train in the three difficulties. Three difficulties means first, it will be difficult for us to remember the antidote for the afflictive emotions. Second, it's difficult to get rid of the afflictive emotions. Third, it's difficult to stop the continuity of the afflictive emotions. So therefore it's important, first of all, to identify, to recognize the coming of the negative emotions, and then seeing the fault of these negative emotions through various means. You should try to stop them, and more importantly, to stop their continuity. Seek for the three principal causes. As a practitioner, we need to engage in hearing, thinking, and meditation. And particularly when you engage in the mind training, as we have discussed, then there are internal factors. The internal factor is that you have obtained this precious human life, and you also have the needed intelligence and wisdom, and the capacity to make effort. So they are all there. And there are external facilities, which is primarily the spiritual teacher. So you should have very close bond and relationship with the teacher. And the third factor is that you need certain facilities in the form of food, clothing, and so forth. So when you rely on these facilities like food and clothing, it should be the middle way, neither too luxurious nor too meager. Okay? Nor you should not torment yourself, and also do not lead a very luxurious life. Don't let the three factors weaken. That means you should not make your faith to the Lama weak. You should not let your heedfulness to the precepts weak, and you should not let your joy and delight in the mind training become weak. Because if you don't have that respect to the Lama, then it's not possible to cultivate and receive the higher qualities. And if your heedfulness to your precepts is not there, then it's not possible to observe correct ethical discipline, because all the negative activities that we do are because of heedlessness. And if you do not delight in the mind training practice, then you will not be able to develop faith, which sees the greatness of the Bodhichitta, and likewise you will not then aspire for it, and your practice will become only a practice of talking. Never be parted from the three possessions. That means you should always be in touch with the Lama and try to serve that Lama as much as possible. Physically and verbally, you should engage in recitation of the lines like taking refuge Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and meditating and visualizing. And your mind should never be separated from the practice of Bodhichitta and its branch practices. Train consistently without partiality. We have explained this earlier. Value an encompassing and far-reaching practice. Value an encompassing and far-reaching practice. So that means encompassing and far-reaching practice means that when you train your mind in Bodhichitta, then the object should be far-reaching in the sense of it should cover all sentient beings and not partial. And likewise, all the 4 different types of births. In other words, it should cover all sentient beings. And that should also be wholehearted, not superficial. So there's the meaning. Okay? Train consistently to deal with difficult situations. I think that I've already explained. Because if you don't continue your practice when you encounter slight hardship and difficulty, then there will be no possibility to actually change your mind. Don't rely on other conditions. That's also very clear. That if you wait for the right situations to practice, it will probably never come. Okay? So without waiting for situations to arise, favorable situations to arise, you should seize the moment and do your practice. Engage in the principal practices right now. So that basically again means principal practice is the practice of bodhicitta. And this is such an important practice that you cannot postpone. So therefore you must practice it right now. Don't apply a wrong understanding. Wrong understanding. That wrong understanding means when you see some people who are really suffering, then you must develop compassion. That's right understanding. But if you see some people who are doing very good dharma practice and they are going a little bit hardship, their clothes also not so well off, okay, they look a little bit thin, then if you say, like for example, if there is somebody who is doing a lot of practice and going around the temple and so forth, if you see, Nyingje, there's wrong understanding. Nyingje kolo. Whereas you are not practicing, and instead you are showing sort of that superficial compassion to those who are doing the practice. Nyingje kolo sedi. Nyingje kolo. It's wrong understanding. So there are many types of wrong understandings. So first is wrong understanding of compassion. The next is called wrong understanding in terms of aspiration. So there are 5 wrong understandings. Wrong understanding of aspiration, that means instead of aspiring to achieve enlightenment, if you engage wholeheartedly in wholeheartedly aspire to get wealth, that's wrong understanding in terms of aspiration. Because you are not aspiring the long-term happiness like Buddhahood, but instead you are aspiring the worldly success. That's wrong understanding in terms of aspiration. Then kind of wrong effort. You should make effort to let all sentient beings achieve Buddhahood, but instead of that, if you make effort to get wealth and other things for yourself, and especially using those things that is offered to Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, then that is called wrong effort. Wrong understanding in terms of rejoicing. You should rejoice in the accumulation of virtue that leads to enlightenment and so forth. If you see somebody doing many good things, then you should rejoice. If you find yourself doing many good things, you should rejoice. There is right understanding of the meaning of rejoice. But instead, if you see your enemy suffering, then you rejoice. Oh, ta ko nyangdus. Rawa. Ta things like jami nyangdu ang az lab girwa. Ta diksung se jesu ran chena, the jesu ran kolo. It's wrong understanding of rejoicing. And then next is wrong understanding of patience. When somebody is undertaking a lot of patience in terms of doing the spiritual practice, Then if you say, oh, he's suffering too much, that is wrong understanding of patience. Okay. And the next is called wrong understanding in terms of your experience. Wrong understanding in terms of your experience means having entered the Mahayana teaching, you must experience and test the hearing and thinking and meditation on bodhicitta. So instead of testing that, instead of experiencing that, instead if you try to experience the worldly enjoyments out of hatred and attachment, in harming the enemies, in looking after the friends and relatives and so forth, that's called wrong understanding in terms of experience. Next is don't be sporadic. If your practice is sporadic, that means you do practice for 2 days and then there's no sign of practice. If you do practice during the holiday, not on other days, then this shows that you don't have that wholehearted faith in the teaching, don't have the wholehearted delight in the teaching. So therefore, the text is saying, don't be sporadic. Practice unflinchingly. That means without hesitation. Make your wholehearted effort in order to cultivate bodhicitta and to achieve enlightenment. That's the meaning. Release investigation. Release investigation and analysis. I don't know about the correctness of this translation, but it is basically saying that with proper motivation, you should analyze what you are practicing. On a grosser level, you should analyze. On a deeper level, you should analyze. You should analyze your motivation. You should analyze your behavior. And then whatever is there to be eliminated, you must eliminate it. Whatever is there to be rejoiced, you should rejoice it. So proper analysis and investigation, you should purify yourself. That is the meaning. Don't be boastful or don't brag. Don't be boastful, don't brag means even when you have benefited somebody, then if you keep on talking about that later on. Don't remember? Last year I helped you. Don't remember? Last month I helped you. Where is that pen that I gave you? If you keep on saying things like that, you magum say, you shen, you che magum say there. So that's why these days, people who are really intelligent, when they give a gift, then take the price tag off. Because they don't want to tell people, oh, I'm so nice, I'm giving you this, which costed $1,000, So not to let that other person who is receiving the gift, they take the price tag off. So things like that. And I sometimes try to do this, because sometimes I get some clothes and things like that. If I give it to a person who I don't know, then it's okay. Who I am going to visit, maybe meet one time, then it's okay. But it happens to be a person nearby, then sometimes I try, not always, sometimes I try to give this not directly by me, through somebody, so that person does not know from where it's coming. Otherwise he might know, oh, Geshe Lhakdor, thank you give me this, and then, for at least for some days he will be like this, Yeah, so Herwa. Kashi kangsung ngembate kona thenda dinde chigoro. Midi ma nya chagi thenda tinge yoro. Tangi ko te zeda chu nge kharlam na chegore dongdo chinge yoro bade. Ade sab chego. Madire. Yuche magums. Kolung medams. Don't be short-tempered. Tati hako go baraba. If you do not get the respect, you get angry. If people are not polite, you get angry. That is the way. Kudanal yorda, kudana michin penjenal. This kujamajenal, lamsang kongdolan and doing the day. Chapjung ship the day. Kujab chen shibuji 그런 자기입을 서로 니치도와 어디지 주야마레스. If somebody don't worry too much about respect, receiving respect. There are people who, when they are not respected, they get angry. When they don't get the food in the right time, they get angry. With small things, they get angry. Don't be like that. It's good, not good for you, for your health. Your blood pressure will increase. Okay, as simple as that. As simple as that. So therefore, Shantideva says, if somebody praises you, don't get too happy because there are other people who are saying bad things about you. If some people are saying bad things about you, don't get too dejected. There are other people who are saying good things about you. So what is important is not what other people say about you. What is important is how you live your life. That's important. Okay. Don't make a short-lived attempt. This is very similar, like don't be sporadic. I've seen many people who, in the beginning, they are so excited. Oh, now I'm going to do Dharma practice. Now I'm going to do Dharma practice. So first few days, Nire Sejam is a Sundusam, Lamathane, Kebe, Compound, Shazim Lunzi, Jimmy, Ingwechir, Tendatilan, Chia, Minjungwe, Zomba Chu, Jundi Tenhiran, Sekondang Sombanashi. Aksarchen. First few days, there's a lot of excitement. I've seen some people who, for the first time when they become monk and nun, just look so disciplined, They just give their, evening meal, of course. And also their style of walking slowly. Then gradually they become wild. Yeah, I've seen this. We are all like that, you see. So don't be like that. Don't make short-lived attempt. Not only Dharma practice, but other educational activities also. If you make short-lived attempt, you are not going to achieve anything. So therefore the great teachers, they say that your effort towards positive practices should be like a running stream. The running stream will run day and night. It will not say that now it's night, I'm going to take rest and stop. It will keep on running. So something like that. So more or less we have finished, I think. Don't expect gratitude. You should in fact be grateful to other people. Now for example, with this kind of teaching, after finishing this teaching, if I expect gratitude from you, then I'm wrong. I should be grateful to you, because if nobody came to listen to me, to whom I should teach. I mean, that's not a big problem, I'm not dying to teach. But at the same time, you should be grateful. There are so many people who are interested in becoming good people, in preserving good things. And because of your attendance, it gives him an opportunity to do some homework. I can't teach like that. I need to do some homework. I need to do some reading. So it's good for me, For you, good or not, I don't know. But for me, it's good. So it's not just one-sided thing, So earlier, I think we missed few lines. Can you show me this? Because this is quite difficult. There's so many different versions of the verses. Now, if you go back, where is it? It may not be here even. Oh yeah, training in ultimate bodhicitta. I think this we have not read. Yeah, training in ultimate bodhicitta. There are so many different versions. So training in ultimate bodhicitta means, now ultimate bodhicitta means the wisdom, understanding, emptiness. So having attained the stability, be shown the secret. So that basically, the translations are not so easy, It's basically saying, having gained stability in the practice of the cultivation of conventional bodhicitta, then you should practice the secret. That means the ultimate bodhicitta, the meditation on emptiness. Okay, secret, that means emptiness. So in terms of meditation on emptiness, consider phenomena to be like a dream. That means the phenomena that you see, does not have inherent independent existence. So see all of them like a dream. Consider phenomena to be like a dream. Analyze the nature of the ungenerated awareness. That means it is not only the object of the mind which is free from independent existence, therefore like a dream, and the mind which is seeing ungenerated awareness means the mind which is there with you also not generated, having independent inherent existence. So therefore the mind, the observer, also does not have independent existence. Okay? Even the antidote itself is natural free. That means just like the object, the phenomena does not have independent existence, the mind seeing that does not have independent existence. So therefore, the person who is cultivating that antidote also does not have independent existence. Even the antidote, that means the person who is cultivating that antidote, is also naturally free, means it does not have independent inherent existence. So therefore you should then focus on that nature of the basis of all, that means emptiness, which is the basis of all. As Nagarjuna says, if emptiness is possible, everything is possible. If emptiness is not possible, nothing is possible. That means emptiness means empty of independent existence. So that means things exist. When things exist, there are only two possibilities. Either they should exist independently or dependently. There is no third possibility. So which one is true? Existing independently or dependently? Huh? Dependently. Okay? Dependently. So since things exist dependently, therefore things can arise. That's the meaning. The basis of all. Emptiness means empty of independent existence, which means dependent origination. So therefore, this emptiness is the basis of all, the entity of the path. Between sessions, be an illusionist. I don't agree with this translation, but the meaning is, having explained how you should do this meditation on emptiness during the meditative session, where you see phenomena having no independent existence, the mind observing phenomena having no independent existence, the person cultivating antidote having no independent existence. Having did this meditation, then when you get up from the meditative session, during the post-meditative session, whatever you see them as an illusion. See them like a dream. That will help you not to develop attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth. Like a dream. If you are able to see like a dream, then there's nothing that's worthy of developing too much attachment, too much disliking. So there's the meaning. Next one. So in this way, I think I have finished it. And then finally it says, this is a conclude with a quotation from Geshe Chekhawa, where he says, "My manifold aspirations have given rise to humiliating criticism and suffering, but having received instructions for taming the misconception of self, even if I have to die, I have no regret." So that means I made a lot of aspiration to understand and practice this mind training. And I had to go, he is saying it's not easy. I had to go a lot of hardships. For example, as I explained earlier, he spent more than, I think, 12, 14 years with his Lama doing just the mind training practice. And in those days, doing practice means practice, not like us, because we have so many distractions. Okay? So he really underwent so many hardships. And then he says, as a result of these hardships, I had to encounter a lot of problems, humiliations, and so forth. But now I have reached a stage, now I have gained an insight of this mind training practice, that now I have no regret if I am going to die tonight. That means he was able to fully gain the benefit of mind training. So this is important. This is really, I'm sorry it took a little more time than I wanted. But with this verse, what I want to really say is, your mind is your boss. Your mind can make and mar your destiny. It can make your destiny, it can mar your destiny. Ordinarily, as I said, ordinarily we think that your peace and happiness comes from outside, but in reality, your happiness and your peace is very much primarily dependent upon your perspective, your outlook, your mental attitude. So from that you can clearly see mind training is so important. If you change your attitude a little bit, if you develop a little bit more holistic perspective, if you reduce a little bit of this self-cherishing attitude and egoism, you will be much, much happier, healthier and freer. As I said, when you develop this universal attitude, you become open-minded, you become free. When you only develop this self-cherishing attitude, I, me and mine, your mind becomes narrow. And that narrow-minded attitude is suffocating, restricting, constricting. So that's, in short, what is said in this text. So I stop here. We ran, and we managed to conclude. Thank you very much. And it's important that you try to get this text and read. And if you don't know, then ask questions to people who know. There are so many people who can help you. Okay, it's important. So don't be sporadic, as the text says. Don't be short-lived. Don't be sporadic. Thank you very much. So let us dedicate whatever virtue we have gathered by these 5 sessions that we had in the past 5 days. May all the positive merits that we have earned become a cause to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And may this become a cause to the prolongment of life of His Holiness Dalai Lama and all the great teachers and kind-hearted people all over the world. May they achieve success and may they be able to fulfill the needs of all other sentient beings. Thank you very much.